An Angus bull is sold for an Australian record price at a sale in the New South Wales Southern Highlands. The KO Angus bull sold for $110,000 to Gilman Dyke Angus stud at Orange. The owner of the KO stud is Sydney businessman Theo Onesphorou, and he joins us now. Theo Onesphorou, thank you for joining us on the program. Put this in some context for us. $110,000 for this particular bull. What's the average?
The average New South Wales 2011 was about $7,000.
So this is well above the average. What is it about this particular bull?
He's special in many, many ways. Phenotypically, he's very, very correct. He has computer generated...
Meaning what? Is his sort of proportions
Everything's in the right place.
Right.
And everything's exceptionally good quality. He has computer-generated statistics which are calculated based on his own performance plus the performance of his family of genetics, his mother cow, his genetic brothers, genetic sisters, and things like that. And so what happens is that all of these statistics are put into a computer, and he is given values based on those criteria.
And what are those criteria?
For example, at what weight he's born. It's very beneficial to have an animal that's not born particularly large for ease of calving. You want an animal that's born small and then grows very, very dramatically and quickly. You've got a situation where you're also assessing marbling. Marbling, as we now know, is very important to tenderness and eating quality, and he's got an excellent computer-generated statistic for his marbling.
And that comes down to this particular breed, doesn't it?
Yes, Angus is a breed that evolved in the Southern Highlands of Scotland, and it was an animal that learnt to lay down fat as a way of protecting itself from the cold. And marbling is one of those ways that it does protect itself from the cold. So marbling is expanding enormously in Australia because of its marbling qualities. And we've always said within the Angus breed, why not have an animal that marbles? Because it opens up other markets to you. Now, this animal's very, very special in many ways. One of the important statistics that breeders were interested in was the fact that his mature cow weight statistic says that his mature cows that he will generate will not be particularly large, and the smaller they are, the less they eat. And if you've got a big cow that eats a lot compared to a small cow that doesn't eat much, but they still produce the same size and quality of animal, then you prefer the smaller one.
Right. Now, I was watching a copy of the video of the auction itself, and it was really interesting. The auctioneer said that this $110,000 would seem like a deposit when you consider the sale of semen and the sale of progeny to come from this
Correct.
bull.
No, well, I think what's the discussions by the owner at the moment are up to, he's talking about selling very quickly 10 packages of semen at $7,500. So there's $75,000 back relatively quickly.
And who does that go to?
Other breeders. Other breeders. This animal is
in Australia.
In Australia, there is overseas interest in the bull as well, and you can understand that. His statistics are such that overseas breeders will be interested in well and truly. We were by the way, by way of background, we were the first stud in New South Wales that had genome tested all of our bull draft. And we did that with a test conducted by Pfizer.
Which is significant for...
Significant from the point of view, it's effectively a DNA test. And what you do is you compare the bull's DNA and his performance against other bulls' DNA, and it helps you understand whether the breeding values that were computer generated I made reference to earlier, whether they are more likely to be correct than incorrect. And having done that test, his performance criteria are improved, and it made him all the more valuable. But also, if you're a buyer of this bull and he's had that genome 50K test done on him, then it's more likely that the results are correct.
So how many calves will he sire in his lifetime?
In his lifetime, he could, just give you an absurd illustration, I presume he generates 5,000 straws of semen over the next 2 years. But those straws can be used in embryo transfer programs, and one straw of semen hypothetically can lead to 1 to 10 calves.
Does it guarantee the quality of cattle that will come from this one bull?
No, it doesn't guarantee it. Nothing does. However, it certainly increases the likelihood. The greatest likelihood is this animal will breed great animals. And by the way, the money wasn't paid because this is a special animal. The money was paid also because his mother is a special animal. His grandmother is a special animal.
And they're in Scotland, aren't they?
No, because I've bred about 10 generations of on his mother's
Oh, I
side.
see, right.
His great-great-grandmother was the first cow I showed at Sydney Royal Show nearly 20 years ago. And it's a joy to me because she was such a loved animal by me. She was such high quality, and it's just great to see 20 years later that she's produced what she's produced.
What's the environment like for the cattle industry at the moment?
It's quite good. It's quite good. Obviously, there were setbacks associated with the live trade export.
Yeah.
However, at the end of the day, meat relative to other things to eat, I think, is very reasonably priced. And it appears to me that the beef industry is well placed. The main driver of the success or otherwise of cattle in Australia is rain, and we've had a number of good years of rain, and therefore things are quite good on the land.
In terms of the outlook, though, a lot of the modelling suggests we're going back to an El Nino weather pattern, which means drier conditions. What does that tell us about the future?
Obviously, rain is the single greatest determinant as to the success of a farm industry, and obviously there's nothing we can do about it. We just cope with it. But by way of illustration, for example, going back to this bull's computer-generated statistics say that he will generate small cows that can produce calves that grow quickly and produce an animal for the marketplace that is the same weight as a large cow. And it may well be, and we've calculated, that this bull can produce cows that will fit 4 of his female progeny will be the same as will consume the same amount of feed as 3 average cows. So you've got 1 extra cow.
That is amazing. It's absolutely fascinating. Theo Onesphore, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.